Imagine if that head trash was not there. Who would you be? What if I told you those fears were no longer a problem? What would you do? I'm Stephanie Costello, a mom of 3, wife, and avid mountaineer. Beyond all of these, I am very much like you, an average person trying to navigate this thing we call life. My goal with this podcast is to bring to light the truth about what intimacy really is. You may smile, feel called out, or learn something new. Either way, you will learn you are in control. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Gianpiero, who is a husband, a father, a friend, and a person who wants to be of value to others by means of genuine conversation or simply by empathic listening. He believes that conversations can be powerful and even instrumental for alleviating pain and trauma. Gianpiero was born in Peru and was raised in both Peru and Los Angeles, California. He served in the U.S. Army for 3 years and served a combat tour in Afghanistan. He's lived through happy and fulfilling experiences in his life and through painful and traumatic ones too. He was diagnosed with PTSD a few years ago after his combat experience. Today, he loves being that listening ear for anyone who gives him the opportunity to listen to them as they share their unique life story. All right. Welcome to the Intimacy Truth Podcast, where we have our co-host, Mr. Gianpiero.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you. And I'm super excited to get into our stage 3 of the cycle of flow. And again, those of you who have listened for the last 2 episodes, thank you for being here and committing and being determined and resilient to overcome your challenges and really work through this state with us in a way that is beneficial to you. And that's really our goal here, is to help this make your life easier so you can find that information that you need to connect those dots and make those or live your life by your design and not by anybody else's.
Yes, wonderful. I'm just thinking, like, all these ideas are coming to my head. I want to share all this stuff because this is the part that I'm really, really excited about. To being able to be in the moment, to be able to be in that state where, like, wow, they call it the sweet spot, like, where, like, I can do this. Possibilities are endless, and I love that part of flow.
Which is it. Well, so we're in the third phase or stage is the state of flow, right? And one of the things that is interesting is if you think about when we were talking about the state of release, you might have felt that state of release. And if you've come back, thank you for coming back, because there probably is some that may not have come back. And then when you get to that state of, did I say release? I meant to say struggle. And then when you get to that state of release, it's like, oh yeah, finally a little bit freer. And we're figuring this, whole struggle versus release stuff out. And now we're in that state of flow. And just being here and us talking about the state of flow, you're also on that journey with us in being in that state of flow in your own way. So I think that's really fascinating how us talking about it is allowing that creation of that state of flow.
Yes, I love it. After going through all these steps, of course, flow, it's beautiful. I like how my wife tells me that you're in your element right now. Like, I'm doing things and I'm so full of energy, and I live for those moments.
Yes. Can you give us an example of a moment for you that might be a state of flow for you?
It's, for example, for a long time, I've always said I want to be a public speaker. But then I have all these ideas that get in my mind, well, you have an accent, English is not your first language, you don't have enough education, all this, I'm not enough.
Jargon, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I find myself in a place and people ask me for, hey, tell me your life story or tell me something about this issue that is going on. And then an hour later, I find myself, not that I'm just like regurgitating and speaking stuff, like people are interested at the edge of their seat, and it's just like, I was born for this. And then I get this feeling of everything that I think I'm not, I've been, and I am, and I am this thing. But I get so focused on my accent, my education, people will not approve of me, they will not like me, I'm too short, all these different things. It's like they go out there because I've already done it and I can do it again.
I love that. And
So exciting. I was like really picturing you in your state of flow, like up there on a stage, talking to a bunch of people and getting all that really amazing feedback. One of the things that when I'm in a good state of flow and I'm really in that zone is holding space for people, giving people that opportunity to really be trusting and vulnerable. For example, before my meme died, one of the things that I did for her was I would braid her hair every single day for a lot of the time before she passed away. And I remember telling my mother-in-law that before she died, like maybe once or twice. And she was saying, actually, in the last few days of her life, my mother-in-law, she was saying, I just remember you telling me this story about you taking care of your meme before she passed away. She's like, it was maybe like 2 sentences, but I will always remember that. And so what that did for her was give her the opportunity to trust in me to actually care for her and hold space for her in that time of need. And one of the things that I found before she was not able to communicate was that she was worried about, there's so much to do at the house and there's so much to do, right? I have so much left to do. And it's like, Mom, you're worrying about all these things and you're wasting precious moments of this time you have left. And so in being able to help her with that awareness, I was able to give her that space to be trusting and vulnerable and be herself and stop the worry. Be present in those moments where fear can really take over. So that's a state of flow for me, helping other people find that state of flow. And when we're in that flow together, when they do let go of that struggle and that they get to that state of release, and she did get into a few states of flow where she was able to feel the love and the energy and the experience before she passed away. It was really incredible to help her get to that state of flow as well.
I love this, and this concept or idea of being able to hold space for another person or for ourselves. One of the way people describe flow is the space of timelessness. So timeless is not an issue at that moment, and you could hold space for someone for a very long time until that moment has passed, or find yourself doing stuff and it's like, oh my gosh, it's already been half an hour. Where did the time go? I mean, we've all said that before. Where did the time go?
Yeah. Or even when we're driving, when we forget like where we were and we can't quite remember, where the entire ride, it's because we were in this state of flow. And hopefully the state of flow was useful because sometimes those driving states of flow can be numbing out or just kind of this out of body experience that all of a sudden we get to where we are. It's like muscle memory kicks in. But for me, when I'm driving and I get that opportunity to sort of have this out of body experience, this I'm looking at what you were just referring to, the richness, the great ideas, the pattern recognition, the linking of ideas, all kicking into high gear. Again, we're pulling some good information out of the Unleash the Peak Performer Within You by Steve Adams, who owns the Tiger Performance Institute. The Tiger Performance Institute, yes. And so it's just incredible when you do make all those connections. That state of flow is something that's so freeing to experience. Unless you're stuck in that state of survival mode, then sometimes that state of flow can be challenging.
And that's why there are stages to it, like if you're open to it, you go through all the stages, and once you get to the state of flow, it's like, I'm glad I arrived. And one of the way they describe also flow, it's when the inner critic goes to sleep, and it's just you in the moment, just doing what you're doing, and there's no inner critic. And I love that part of being in flow.
I can tell you one of my struggles with being in flow, and I think it's just a craving for supporting people and loving to support people. When I'm in my state of flow by myself, I sometimes hate it. I sometimes I crave to have that state of flow with other people. And so I recognize that it's okay to have a state of flow by myself. So when I do crave that state of flow and I'm not able to have it with others, I might go hiking or, get into that zone in a way that is suitable to me and only me. because I'm what's suitable to me is different than everybody else, and vice versa. And so there's all these different variations of how we can get into flow.
Yes, but knowing that it is possible, and this is why I love that what we're doing, telling people this is possible. And I can guarantee you, most of you listening have been in that space. You know, time goes by when you're having fun. We've said that in everyday language.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So I'm curious to continue the conversation around how to get in that state of flow, because I'm sure people are wondering, like, okay, well, if I've gotten there naturally, then getting there deliberately is probably, there's a process and a structure that we should follow. But again, it's important to remember that my state of flow and my process into getting into my state of flow is going to be very different than everybody else, because our nervous system all functions very differently.
And so are we talking about preparation leading up to the state of flow? Like there are some.
You can have a deliberate state of flow where you're intending it. You don't necessarily need to meet that. You don't necessarily have to struggle to get there. For example, like before a baseball team starts a game or something, there might be this struggle, quote unquote struggle, in the beginning, because they're warming up their muscles, right? And they're getting ready to experience that release and then that stage of flow. So they get that release because they've warmed up their muscles, they're ready to begin the inning, and then they get into their state of flow. So there's that same process with emotions and behaviors and communication.
Right, definitely. Preparation, physiological preparation towards that end. It's definitely what we want people to strive towards. But sometimes it does happen without the preparation because of something that you said earlier, muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
We need to trust that our bodies are going to do what they need to do in order to survive. I mean, there's so many things that our body does. I mean, you don't just wake up in the morning and say, heart beat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's so many things going on, and there's different systems in the body that do things automatically. And there are some things that we can train our body to develop and to be there. I mean, this is what athletes do. I mean, this is why we watch the Olympics. It's just like people are at the edge of failure, about to do something difficult, and then all of a sudden they do it, and we're like, wow, look at that.
And we're like experiencing this state of flow by watching them. And sometimes that can be not necessarily productive, though, because if you're watching somebody in that state of flow, then you can experience that same, not nearly as intense, but that same feeling of release. You can get that release by watching. And so then we can get sucked into watching TV and sports and watching everybody else succeed, because it feels good watching people succeed, but it's not quite the same when we're doing it ourselves.
Right. I mean, we could spend our whole life watching other people live.
Right.
Whereas we can say, me too.
Yes.
If another human being can't do it, then there's a possibility that I can do it. And yeah, the possibility is always there.
Yes. And to go back a little bit again, for those people who are like, but I'm drowning in the middle of the ocean without any resources. Giampiero and I both were diagnosed with PTSD. Me 5 years ago. How about for you?
I think it was official diagnosis 2014.
Okay, so a little bit longer than yes, yep. And so we've been there. We've been there where we felt like we were drowning. And I'm so glad and grateful to report that I haven't quite been in a place in a very long time, at least a year now, a year and a half, of that state of drowning. I've gotten to a place in my life where I recognize, I actually have my little notes here, that every emotion has an action urge associated with it. Emotions are designed to inform us of what action we should take, but sometimes, so to go back to like explaining that state of struggle that I recall experiencing when I was first diagnosed, it was like these emotions that were so overwhelming, and these emotions were screaming, run, there's a lion that's going to eat you, you're going to die, run away from everything, run away from the grocery store, run away from your kids, run away from your husband, run away from your family. All of this like autonomic nervous system reactions that have just been out of control And at that point, I felt like I had no one. I didn't even feel like I could confidently be myself. And I've learned over the last 5 years how to tell that response to be like, shh, you're wrong. This is not the time where
Yeah,
I need to run away. I can go to the grocery store and my kids can give me a hug without me jolting because they're holding a certain part of my body or whatever it might be, right? And I had to retrain my body into a state of flow, out of that state of survival and into that state of struggle, thrival.
exactly. And it's available to all of us. Yeah, of course, our body changes over time and whatnot, but we're not stuck. We're not trees. We're
Mm,
not planted. We can always move a little bit. And as I read the book, also there's one of the, I don't want to say if it's advice, but one of the things in the book that I read was like the importance of movement. Movement is so important for the body. If you're
mm,
feeling stuck, move a little. You're
mm.
not gonna learn how to do whatever you want to do overnight, but being open to the possibility that you can do something and start moving in that direction, it will compound over time. And then you can do so many great things and you can just be proud of yourself and admire yourself. We all have it, I believe.
Yes. Do you remember those times where you broke out of that state of survival and was able to start feeling that thrival?
Yes, I mean, it's taken a lot of work. It's taken a lot of reading. It's taking therapy. It's taking
Yeah.
religious experiences.
Yeah.
It's taken all kinds of different things, but I've been open to all the possibilities. I remember, so when I was in the military, I went to war and I saw people get
Mm,
hurt. Particularly, I saw children get hurt, and I couldn't be around children without getting triggered. Like I would go to the store and I would go walk by the children's section where the diapers were, and
mm,
I would start like my body would started like tingle, and I would get teary eyed and overwhelmed. And
mm.
my therapist even helped me with exposure therapy. He would take me to places like a market,
Oh, wow.
and he said, wherever you feel that feeling, be with it. Don't run away from it. So that's exposure therapy. So I'm like,
Mm,
okay, that's great. And that was a huge step for me to reintegrate myself into my day-to-day activities. But now I can say that most of it is gone, but it's a lot of work. And now I don't get stopped by situations where like I get triggered by a memory or a physical
mhm,
reaction. Now I'm like, okay, breathe, breathe. For some reason, it's always like the solution is always breathe,
mm.
because I
Because
feel
that's
like
your
stuck.
life source.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Sometimes I feel like, and you will see most people who are struggling with something, they're like,
Yeah. Ooh, they're holding
yeah,
it in. Yeah.
relax your face, smile, breathe. And it's a, what do you call it, a reverse feedback mechanism,
Mm,
that if you don't feel like doing it, your body's not going to show it. But if you do it with your body, somehow it reverses and it makes you feel those feelings of happiness and joy and relaxation. So you know what they say, fake it until you make it. It sort of works. If you're not feeling confident, you're act as if,
mm.
stand up straight, smile, breathe, and put some life source into you. The word inspiration comes from the Latin word inspirare, which means to breathe life into.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So yeah, be inspired,
Yes.
and beauty is all around. Again, I quoted Van Gogh the other day. If you're seeking for beauty, you will find it.
Yes. And same thing when I spoke to motivation, how motivation is fed by fear. Inspiration is from within, and that's the life that you were just referring to, and really breathing that life, bringing that breath into life, and
Yeah.
making yourself feel alive. And I want to also say these stories are our stories, our examples, things that helped us. So if you're really struggling and you are not able to leave your house because you're so triggered, or you're having these challenges, don't go and try to and give yourself that exposure therapy on your own. Like as Giampiero said, he had somebody helping him work through that. It is very important that you have the right helper to help you navigate that. And if you're wondering, who's the right helper for me, or how do I find them? I have a free opportunity where you can reach out at safetyandfreedom.com, give us a call, or pick a time to learn more. And if we're a good fit, we'll invite you to take advantage of some of the resources we offer. And if we're not a good fit, then we will refer you to somebody who may be, or to some opportunities or whatever it might be. Now, if anyone's interested in communicating with Giampiero because you love what he has to say, Giampiero, how can people connect with you?
So my email, should I spell it out?
Yes,
my email.
sir.
Okay. My email is my name, GIAMPIERO at SCATTOLON.com. It's my first and my last name.
Yes, I love it. And stay tuned for that fourth phase. Don't end at the flow, because there's so much more that is really important to help the whole process and doing it in a good, healthy, functioning way for you and your body. Talk soon.